Hello everybody, my name is Chris Hossack. I'm the leader of Brentwood Council. This is a short message I just want to put together for the benefit of the people who live in Brentwood primarily. As leader of the council, I felt it was appropriate that I wanted to address you all to tell you what the council is doing, what's happening in the community during this pandemic crisis that we are in and that is unravelling at a rapid pace. First of all, what I want to do is just at the highest level say to you that please heed all of the advice you are getting from the NHS, from Public Health England. Do the basic things well. Do what you've been instructed to do around social distancing if that's necessary. If you've got symptoms, go into self-isolation. Think about the cleanliness of your environment, washing your hands regularly, all that basic stuff that we've been told to do. It's simple stuff, but it works. So I'd encourage you to do it. I encourage you to keep an eye on the NHS information and government information that's coming out on a daily, if not hourly basis. Okay. More locally, I just wanted to talk to you about what the council are doing. We have got a policy at the moment where we have got a lot of our staff working from home. So with the exception of a number of staff who've decided to self-isolate, we've got no confirmed cases of Covid-19, but some people have self-isolated from our staff team as part of a precautionary measure, but we are pretty much up to full staff. Having said that, the staff, a lot of them are working from home where they can. We have about 20% of our staff in the town hall at the moment, but as best as possible, everything is running as normal. Obviously, we are being very much preoccupied with reacting to the Covid-19 situation in Brentwood, and I'll tell you a bit more about that in a moment. But other services are operating. Most importantly, the service that matter to you as residents are waste collection services, what you'll see on a daily basis. That, as I speak to you now, is continuing as normal, and we intend to keep that to continue as normal. Should the situation change as we progress, should some of our crew go into isolation or, God forbid, become unwell with the virus, then we will have to adapt what we do. Our aim is to maintain our waste collection service as we do. We have a scaled down plan should our staff be affected, but I will assure you that as best as possible, as a very minimum, should we arrive at that situation, we will be collecting black bag waste, general refuse on a weekly basis, and that's my pledge to you. We may lose glass, but we'll see how that goes. But as I talk to you now, everything is being collected as normal. Street scene, we're doing our level best to keep up with that, and all the other services that you would expect. Our enforcement team are out working hard. We're still trying to deal with fly tips and things like that as they occur. So whilst we accept there's a pandemic, it's business as usual where possible. So that's the first thing about how we're operating as a council. What I should tell you more about how we're operating as a council is the government at a central level are absolutely enabling and pretty much instructing local authorities to take the lead at a local level around what we're doing here. So effectively, Brentwood Council is the key enabler, working with partners, volunteers, charities and community groups to support the community at this time. The hub for that operation remains the town hall. And I'll follow a little bit more in a moment about how we're using this town hall during the period. Whilst lots of staff are not in the building, effectively we are still open to an extent, and as I say, I'll explain more in a moment. We know we're getting some really serious messages coming out from central government and from the Prime Minister, and rightly so. We are in a pandemic situation. We are in a situation where it's very likely that the rate of infection is going to exponentially increase, and we need to be mindful of that, and we cannot play that down. We know that as of today, Friday, the schools are finishing, except for those children that are children of key workers, and we know that situation is going to unfold. But I think with the schools coming out today, that's going to add extra pressure to the system. There's going to be a lot of parents much more anxious. They've got kids out of school. What do they do in terms of their jobs? They've got more mouths to feed at home. There's the whole school meals piece. And I'm talking to the Education Authority about that and how that's working. And again, that is evolving literally on an hour-by-hour basis. And the government are announcing information around a voucher scheme to keep kids who are entitled to free school meals able to get that food and get it affordability and accessibility to that. Okay, so we need to take this seriously. But let's be positive. Brentwood has a fantastic community. It has a fantastic wealth of volunteers, charities, churches and other groups that are actually a daily part of our lives already in Brentwood. I'll refer to people like Food Bank, I'll refer to people like Food Pastors, I'll refer to a lot of other charities that are doing a really positive work in this community and have done for years. What is so pleasing is, despite the noise we're seeing around panic buying and some of the way that actually is reflected negatively on the public, that is not a reflection of everybody. I would encourage people not to panic buy. We are getting calls into the town hall now from particularly elderly people who are not able to get to the shops, and we need to cater for those people, literally cater for those people in terms of getting food to them, and plans are already in play with certain charities such as Food Bank, such as Man and Meals, to make that happen. Let me tell you some positive stories. This morning we went to Sainsbury's at Brentwood, and we asked people very simply as they were shopping to come out with some non-perishable items to put it either in the food bank box on the way out, or we went down with a van and we had what I call a little can in the van scheme. We collected a full van load in the space of an hour and a half. So despite all the negative press of panic buying, I was so encouraged this morning by people who were just willingly giving food. In one case, somebody actually even gave us a £50 note, and we went through with a trolley and spent 50 quid and filled that trolley with food. I heard another story the other day I think it was at Cllr Hall, where somebody, an elderly gentleman, was fumbling to pay, couldn't pay, was a bit stressed, and somebody just paid 60 quid and paid his bill. So there's some fantastic things going on. I am getting not overwhelmed yet, but not far off with people wanting to volunteer. I know there are some groups that have set up Facebook pages. The parish councils are doing their thing. There's the Brentwood Residents Action Group that I've come across that I still need to make contact with. There are other people coming out of the woodwork all along saying, how can we help? So my personal thanks to you guys. What we need to do as a council, because there's so much of it happening, is coordinate that, and we're trying to keep on top of the level of volunteering. It's actually a bit of a challenge, but I think we can do it. We're not going to stop people from doing what they want to do, but I will go back to what I said earlier, where the town hall is the hub. The lead authority on this is Brentwood Borough Council, and that's the trusted brand that people need to refer to in order to make sure they're getting things done. Despite all of the goodwill that is coming out of people in Brentwood, all of the volunteers and everything else I've talked about, and the kindness that's coming forward in absolutely spade loads, unfortunately, there will be people in the community, probably not in our community, that are going to take advantage. We have now thousands of vulnerable people at home, possibly self-isolating. Depending where this epidemic goes, we could be isolating people of a certain age. These people are going to be very vulnerable. So what I'd ask you all to do is keep an eye out for your neighbour who's elderly. Be aware of scammers. If leaflets are coming through the door that don't feel right, do not pick up the number. Do not give cash to people to go and do your shop. You will not see that food, it's likely. And actually, unfortunately, despite all the wealth of goodwill, there are some people already that we're picking up evidence of that they're taking advantage of people at this time. That to me is unforgivable, but unfortunately, that is the world we live in. But please be on your guard and be on the lookout, if not for yourself, certainly for your neighbours, elderly people, people you know in your community that are vulnerable. So if you're watching this and asking, how can I get involved? What can I do to help? And I know there's many of you out there want to do that. Let me try and give you some practical pointers. We have a switchboard that is still being manned and is operational. Our switchboard is 01277 312 500. We're getting lots of calls, as you can imagine at the moment, lots of concerned people. Our workload or our call load is up at the moment. But please use that number and call in. If you want to volunteer, we will do our best to signpost you, depending on what you want to do, to make sure that your kind offer is taken up. You can also visit our website, which is www.brentwood.gov.uk. You can email us at inquiries@brentwood.gov.uk. So these channels are open, and we would much rather see volunteers coming through us so we can make sure that we can point you in the right direction and make sure that we've got credible, trustworthy people that are willing to engage with the public. That's absolutely key and very important for us that we do that. And that's why it's absolutely key that the councils are seen to be at the centre of this coordinating effort. But we're going to see the situation escalate. Let's not pretend that is going to happen. But what I'm hopeful and what I'm already seeing today is as the situation escalates and we go into further measures which seem very likely, which may include restricted travel, let's just see where we go with that. What I'm also seeing escalate is people's goodwill, people's willingness to help out, people's compassion and consideration for their community. So keep doing that. Please keep an eye on the vulnerable. Please keep an eye on your elderly neighbour. Be practical. Be careful about people who are self-isolating in terms of how you interact. If you've got a telephone number and people are self-isolating, pick up the phone, call them. You know, there's other symptoms that are going to come out of this. People who are isolated has a massive impact on their mental health and their mental well-being. So think about that. If people have got somebody to talk to, be that person, be available for those people. If restrictions in movement come about, we don't know. We will always have to follow government guidance and the guidance of the health experts and professionals. At the moment, that is not the case. We are fortunate in Brentwood that we have a rich greenbelt borough. We have parks, open spaces. My advice to you is get out and use them. The weather is good today. It may be good for the next few days. Get as much fresh air and exercise into yourselves as you can, because who knows where we might be in the next couple of weeks. So please use that space. In conclusion, the council is going to do everything it can as an enabler to facilitate and deliver the services we require during this period. We're going to do our level best to maintain business as usual, subject to people and resource being available. And that's our commitment to you. So we're in difficult times. Let's not make any bones about that. But let's be optimistic. The Prime Minister is indicating that if we pull together, do the right things, and follow the guidelines, we can pull through this, and I know we can. We're in unprecedented times. The council and myself have never experienced anything like this before. Across the country, across the world, actually, all of us have never experienced anything like this before. But let's stay positive. Let's keep an eye out for each other. We can pull through this, but let's do the sensible things. Let's show compassion and consideration, and I'm sure we'll come actually out of this much stronger than we went into it. Thank you for listening.